All right, we are live for Midweek Chat. I am with Danny White with DW Creative Publishers. What's going on, Miss Danny? How you doing today?
I am good. How are you, Bridget?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Awesome.
good. Well, listen, y'all. I'm talking to Danny White. Danny is one of our presenters for the upcoming Pen to Paper Business Summit happening November 3rd and 4th. So if you've not gotten registered, you want to do that. You want to get registered. It's happening the 3rd and the 4th of November, and we'll be at the Embassy Suite, Center City, Dallas, Texas. So listen, we're just chatting today. Danny, we know, I've been talking about you with all this content creating and marketing and the whole nine. But I don't even want to talk about that today. You're going to talk to the people about that at the conference. What I want to talk about today is how did you get started with this whole business of content creating, marketing, the whole nine? Of course, you got a new project out. You'll want to tell us about that. I'm gonna let you take the show and introduce yourself and tell us how did we get started with this?
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, I'm Danny White. I run a digital marketing agency here in Texas. I'm in McKinney, DW Creative Consulting Agency, and I have a secondary business that is DW Creative Publishers, where I publish books and books and ebooks. How did I get started? I started in editing. I started
Okay.
editing manuscripts, transcribing people's manuscripts, ghostwriting
Okay.
manuscripts for
Okay.
a small publishing company when I was 13. Um,
Wow.
so
Wow.
yes,
Wait a minute. You
working
can't just
for a
roll by that. 13. Wait a minute.
yes.
Wait a minute. What was going on at 13? That you were doing all this at 13? Come on
Yes,
now.
I,
Yeah.
I I enjoyed writing. So
Unpack
as a
that.
kid, yes, as a kid, I missed a good portion of school because I was always sick. And so
Hmm.
I was home a lot. And of course, back then we didn't have like, online school like we have
Yeah, yeah,
today.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was no books you could take home. There's no at home school or nothing like that. And so I would get a lot of books from the library because I couldn't go to school.
Mhm.
I would get a lot of books from the library, and I really started enjoying like poetry. So I would
Okay.
write random poetry, I would write random songs, things like that.
Okay.
Like as a 7, 8, 9 year old. And then when I turned 13, I started getting into editing, ghostwriting, transcribing, like all of those things. And it was new, but it was also fun because I got to
Okay.
learn more about like, okay, how people think about their topics, like how people create
Okay.
content, things like that. And then
Okay.
that's how I got off into publishing, right? So I got work for a small publishing company, pretty much did the same thing, editing, ghostwriting, and then like managing the whole publishing process. So then I got into like book cover designs, layout for interior, like the interior of a book, ISBNs, barcodes, sending royalty checks, things like that. And then
Okay.
after that, I did that for a couple of years, and then I went to school for psychology. Totally has nothing to do with what I'm doing now or back then. But went to school for psychology and then came out. And I was originally going to go into clinical psychology, like become a
Okay.
whole PhD, doctor of clinical psychology, that whole thing. But after grad school, I was broke and I had 200 something $1,000 of student loans and no job.
That
So
part.
it did not make sense to continue. And I didn't have student loans to continue anyway, right? So
Right, right.
so one day this guy reached out to me. He was like, "We're starting a marketing agency in Frisco and you're gonna come work for us."
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's how I got started in like B2B tech marketing, right? And so eventually like I built up their content department there, worked there for 5 years. It was fun, it was exciting because you're starting with a blank slate, like there's no
Hmm.
parameters, no rules, no
Right.
anything. You're just making
Hmm.
stuff up as you go.
Yeah.
Uh, and I did that for 5 years. And one of the things I noticed is that working with a lot of enterprise companies and running their marketing campaigns and things like that, everyone talks about like the end result, like,
Hmm.
oh, we want to get X amount of traffic, or we want to get X amount of followers on social media, or we want to make X amount of dollars in revenue, but they don't talk about the path to get there. And the path to get there starts with content. Like the whole world runs on content, all the ads you see on TV,
Yeah.
podcasts, like billboards, everything starts with writing something, right? But people miss
Absolutely.
miss that part. So it was partly education, like for the company, but also I enjoyed writing. So I wrote everything. Anytime they needed something, agreements, contracts, random legal stuff, privacy policies, anything, like they were like, oh yeah, Danni can write it. She can write it. She'll do it. So I found myself like researching different things, writing different things, and like seeing all of the different categories of things that can be written, right? And it literally all starts with content. So after I left there, started a marketing agency, and I really wanted to give like the same level of marketing expertise to small businesses, mid-sized businesses, because a lot of times I think we struggle with like two main things. Like, okay, we struggle with funding, that's number one, and then we struggle with stability, right? So you can't get the funding if you don't have X amount of revenue, and X amount of revenue comes from having the visibility, so clients know what you're doing and they want to work with you. And it becomes a whole ecosystem, and that I feel like that is what keeps a lot of businesses back from growing, because you can't get funding if you don't have clients and revenue, right? And then you can't have clients and revenue if you don't have money to do marketing. So it becomes like a ever evolving like cycle.
Absolutely. It takes all of it. Yes.
Yeah, it takes all of it. And so that's really what I wanted to do, and I work with a lot of companies, even some big companies now, because I do a lot of study in terms of what are the marketing strategies that actually work. And it's not everything, every strategy doesn't work for everybody. And how do you tell a story that's convincing enough for your particular target audience? And so I help companies do that. I still do a lot of content writing. I still do a lot of content writing. But now I have a team to like help me with that writing part. So I do a lot more strategy now. So
what a story. Who would have known? So, but here's the deal. You're so right. And this is the thing that I want people to know who have already registered and those that are still thinking about registering. As small businesses, this is the kind of knowledge and things So even if you're not ready, you know how to prepare and you know what you need to be ready. But the second part of that is understanding that your content is important, and then the opportunities for, strategizing and for marketing. And so the thing is, being in these rooms, such as the business summit coming up, and other, conferences and things of that nature, so that you can ask the questions and you can understand what you need. Because here again, as small business, most of us are solopreneurs starting out. And if you want to grow, some people don't want to actually, manage people and things of that nature. So still, you need to know from whatever perspective you're going, what's going to be required. Because either you, as a solopreneur, you're going to need X number of clients, X number of revenue in order to, extend yourself, expand yourself, and for whatever it is you're doing to be profitable and for it to grow. So these are the things that are really, really, really important, when it comes to this piece. So, talk to us now about, because you have a whole agency and that kind of thing. So you mentioned a team, so now you don't have to do as much of what you started out doing. You can do more strategies. How did that come about? So you started with the Frisco company, the marketing company. So how did you end up transitioning out of there? So you skipped all over that. So we got to go back and unpack that part.
Okay, so the company that I worked for was a startup at the time, right? So it was just getting off the ground, right? There's literally the founder and his wife was the CFO and myself, right? It was just getting started. So in that space, like you start to wear a lot of hats, you start to learn a lot of different things that you don't get taught in school, you don't get taught anywhere else. You literally learn by doing. And I feel like even a lot of people who go to business school or they graduated with management degrees and things like that, you learn a lot of theory, you don't really learn a lot of practice. And so I feel like working in this environment really gave me a lot of knowledge that I would not have otherwise gained. And of course, they were happy to include me in everything. Like I sat in HR meetings, I sat in budget meetings, I sat in finance meeting, end of year planning meetings, team conflict. I remember the first time I had to fire somebody. It was so emotional. I took the day off, but like now it comes a little bit more naturally, right? It gets easier for them to do it. I do think that people have to determine whether or not they want to actually manage people, because people are the way that we scale. Like you can't, as a solopreneur, you're not going to scale by yourself. It's just not possible. It's not going to happen, right? So people have to really make the decision, okay, do I want to run this business myself, Or
Mm-hmm.
am I comfortable enough in the skill set that I have to hire other people that can complement my skill set, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I think that just seeing them, how they did business, like that
Mm-hmm.
actually helped me to, okay, skip kind of like all the beginner stuff and like move
Yeah.
on. Like, I already saw the mistakes. Even I made mistakes in that business, right? Because I had a
Yeah.
department,
Right.
I had a team, I had to run a department, like all of that. Like I learned the
Mm-hmm.
people management, I learned the conflict management, I learned how to work with different personalities and things like that. And I feel like that hands-on experience like really helped me to kind of build my business. So
Yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
that I knew going in was that it's no way that you can build a business by yourself. You need people.
You
Whether you like it
absolutely
or
do.
not,
You
you need
absolutely do.
people. And
Yeah.
there are some days where like, okay, I don't really feel like managing people because I'm a very introverted person. But when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
the work, when it comes to making our clients happy, there has to be a team of people that does that. It can't just be you,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I think
Absolutely.
as I've gotten older, I'm the oldest of 7, by the way, so I'm used to like telling
Oh,
people what to
wow.
do. I used to telling people what to do. I'm used to always being the one with the plan. Like this is what we gonna do. I don't care what y'all think. We gonna do this. But I think also it comes with like maturity. Like it comes
Mm-hmm.
being around people because we grow when we're
Yeah.
around people, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of like I knew certain things that I wanted to do in my business. Like I knew the story I wanted to tell. I also knew the industry landscape, right? There are not a lot
Mm-hmm.
of African American women in marketing
Yeah.
or that run
True.
marketing agencies. It's a very
Yes.
male dominated industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's very, in some respects, it's like very bland, it's very stale.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing in the ideas, bringing in the strategies, telling people that,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do things however you want, but the outcome is going to be this, and not really taking people for a long ride, right?
Right.
Just
Right. Right.
like how things are going to be. I think it's a breath of fresh air for a lot of companies. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like how I transitioned out of that. My old company is now my client. So
Okay.
they couldn't let me
Now
go
that
completely.
is amazing, because
Yes.
sometimes it's like, there's a little rift there. You're leaving us, da 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 da. There's competition, X, Y, and Z. So you were able to transition out of the company you started with and start your own business and then maintain them as a client.
Yes. Yeah. They were like, you're not going
Absolutely
very
amazing.
far. Just, yeah, we will figure this out. So yeah, they ended up being a client. They're very good clients. They're still very good friends. I still learn a lot from them because they're more advanced in business, right? So I'm
Right.
learning like profit and loss and still learning a lot of things from them.
Yeah.
And I would say I get it for free, but why not?
Absolutely. That is amazing. That is amazing. So once you started, so what made you, at what point did you figure out, okay, I can do this for myself, or I want to do this for myself? How long did you
I
work for this company?
I worked for them for 5 years, but I
Okay.
always knew that I was going to be a CEO. Like I
Okay.
always knew that I was going to lead some type of company. I didn't know what type of company it would be. And I didn't know
Hmm.
if it would be something that I started or assuming a position of another company, right? Um,
Okay.
I'd always been told since I was little that I was a natural born leader. And I think that comes
Hmm.
from like growing up, being the oldest of 7 kids, taking on a lot of responsibilities,
Hmm.
not really having like a full childhood in a sense, because you have to be an adult at a younger age.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that a lot of that kind of comes from like, okay, leading my little people and then
Hmm.
start to like understand personalities, understand like how people work, how understand conflict management, resolution, things like
Yeah.
that. And then
Yeah.
it spills over into like the business world too, because like
Yeah.
everybody wants the same thing, like
Yeah.
nice house, nice car,
Hmm.
family. Everybody wants really the same things. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
like how they get there, right?
Yeah. How you get there, and how you build that out.
Yeah.
So you've been in business for how long now?
I have been in business. It will be 3 years in November.
Okay, 3 years in November. This is good. This is good. This is good. And so you have a team of how many at this point?
I have a team of 8 right now, and we will be a
Okay.
team of 10 by December 31st.
Come on, team of
Yes.
10. Come on, team of 10. I ain't mad
Yeah.
at it. I ain't
Yeah.
mad at it. This is wonderful, because this is the other thing, I think what we have to realize is that it takes, number one, it takes a want to. in order to get to a how to, right? So you got to want to do it. And so, your aspirations for the things, even and, so that was a new nugget for me. 13, you
Mhm.
started some of these processes, actually doing some of these processes at the age of 13. And so you're never too young. And that, that lends me to, I'm currently in Las Vegas, and so I was in a conference of empowerment this weekend with mostly young people. So there was some adults in the room, but our target was young people. And so to see 14-year-olds and 16-year-olds really giving their elevator pitch and sharing what it is that they had aspirations for, and some of them actually displaying their gifts and talents. This
Yeah.
is where it starts. And so so to parents, they can't be young, can't be too young. And then
Mm.
as a parent, you got to understand the gift that's in that individual and nurture it, and hone in on that, because you don't ever know
Yeah.
what will happen at the age of 16 or 18 or whatever, if they start when they're 13, 14. And so that was really that was a real powerful thing when you mentioned that, because I think so oftentimes as parents, we don't really grasp that. We don't envelop it. We don't embrace it. And so
Mhm.
as a result, it kind of lies dormant for a while, because we really don't, invest in that gift and in that child,
Yeah.
and really push them to greatness. And so to me, that just gave you this whole, longevity of, you've been in the game, now what, almost 15 years, starting at 13. And so, but at the end of the day, all of those experiences have layered up
It adds
and
up.
have
Yeah.
given you, this level of maturity, with not only, the skill and the craft, but also with the maturity and the maturation of being a leader, and now CEO of a company of your own. And so that's some good stuff. So these are the kinds of things, that I think sometimes we just skip over, we miss, because we're just looking at the surface, and we're not looking at, the underneath, and the how to getting to, the want to getting to the how to, and that matters. So, I know we're not going to try to kind of talk about everything today, because you're going to come back for Tuesday motivation and conversation next week. And so one of the things that I want us to kind of really I want you to be thinking about, I want to talk about marketing myths next week, because I think, that's another thing, everybody thinks that social media is just the only marketing.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of other stuff out there. There are a
Mhm.
lot of other things that can be done, and relative to content. Of course, I know I want you to give away the bag, because you're going to be talking to them about it at the conference. But I want us to hit on marketing myths on Tuesday motivation and conversation, coming up next week, next Tuesday. But
Okay.
this has really been a good catalyst to that. So as we get ready to kind of wind down, what would be, something that you would just share with our audience to just be mindful of wherever they are, based on some of the things that you've shared with us today?
Yes, I think two things. One, when you talked about the want to and the how to, right?
Mhm.
You really do have to want to, because there are going to be a lot of days that you're not. That I just don't feel motivated, right?
Mhm.
Like, and people are going to feel this way.
Those are
And
the don't want to days.
yes, so don't want to, don't feel like it, don't want to talk to nobody, don't want to do
Right,
nothing. You
right.
want to send out invoices to get paid, like don't want to do anything. And
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
going to happen more often than not. And I do think that a lot of times we look for inspiration around us.
Hmm.
A lot of people just want to tell about the mountaintops and the success. And they do not
Yes,
really share, like, okay, all the valley moments that it took to get there. So I
right.
do think that the want to is like very, very important. You have to know within yourself that come hell or high water, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm
Right.
going to achieve. And that's
Hmm.
like an internal work. Like nobody externally can tell you what you want to do, right? That's
Right,
very
right.
internal, is very
Internal work,
internal
absolutely.
motivation, right? I
Hmm.
think secondly, pe- um, people who are just starting, like,
Hmm.
don't be afraid to do free work. Obviously,
Yeah,
when I was 13, I wasn't getting paid. I didn't
right.
actually start getting paid for work until I was 25.
Hmm.
But I had built up a portfolio of work that when people asked what had I done, they
There
were
you go.
like impressed. It was an
Hmm.
automatic shoe in. And I think there is a narrative that is going around that, okay, know your worth, know your value, charge this, charge that, don't charge below your value. And if we're being honest with ourselves, like our value is intrinsic, right? Nobody can tell us that we are not valuable.
Right.
It's an internal mental belief, right? When you're just starting out and you haven't built that brand to where it is, you don't know, people don't know you, they don't know what you do, they don't know who you are, they don't know you're the person to come to. You have to put yourself out there and you have to do free work. Free work's not bad. You have to do free work, right? That's how you get the testimonials. That's how you get people repeat clients. That's how you get referrals. For the first 2 years, 2.5 years of my business, all of my business came from referrals. And that's because I'm not afraid to, like, you want me to build you a website? Okay, I got it. Don't worry about it. Just tell me what you need, I'll build it for you. And it's gonna be a great website. It's not gonna be a half-ass website, right? Right. I think sometimes people we want to get to like the $1 million company, but to $1 million starting at zero. Right.
And we don't want to serve, because see that the part of that doing the free work, that's the serving. So that's the part that people miss.
Don't want to do that. They don't want to serve. I want to skip over that and get to the top dog being the CEO. It doesn't work that way.
They want to be served, but they don't want to serve.
Exactly. You have to serve people, and in turn of serving people, you will find that there's a whole line of people willing to serve you. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't have today and that I have not had to ask for. Because there is a whole line of resources that are like, whatever you need, I got you. And that is because of the continuously of serving other people, like me having the same mentality of, okay, whatever you need, I have you, right?
Got you.
Not always looking for a dollar, like not always looking for some type of accolade or some type of, acknowledgement, right? Some things you are intrinsic, and that matters a lot in business, in relationship building.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, so if people could keep that in mind, it will help. It will go a long way, right? Because people matter, relationships matter, and it really does matter how you treat people. Even above the revenue or all of that, like it matters how you treat people.
You're so right. You're so right. The currency of relationship is a currency. Relationships are it's currency, because to your point, that's how you build, that's how you grow, that's how you get referrals. And it's the same thing that has occurred with me over the years. I don't go look for clients. Clients are referred to me. Other clients share their experiences, and they call, they email, they reach out. But I don't have to go looking for clients, and that's a blessing. But here again, I've served for so long, and I still do, and I have no problem doing it, and I do it with a smile, because that's a part of the process. And you are so right. When we learn that, that's a humbling experience, though. You know what I mean? And it really lends to the integrity of the individual and the experiences of the individual. And when you learn that, because to your point, in this day and time, everybody wants the dollar first. So don't talk to me, not doing no free work. I ain't doing none of that. I ain't about that. But at the end of the day, they really miss it, and they don't realize how far that can take them. That's a good note to end on. That's a good note.
I will say this, it also appeals to marketing too, right? So a lot of times people want the X number of followers on social media, but you have not produced any content that those followers will want to follow, right? And they want to be an influencer, or they want to make X, have brand deals and all of this. Can we produce content for a year that's free? And so the reverse of that is, I don't want to give away my knowledge, my IP for free. First of all, there's nothing new under the sun, right?
Right.
New under the sun. And if you can't give out your knowledge for free, you don't know enough information. So go back.
That's it. Your well ain't deep enough. Your well ain't deep enough.
It's not deep enough, because it should always be overflowing, because you're always taking in knowledge, and you can always give it out for free. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
It really does lend itself to marketing. So a lot of times people come and say, I want to build my social media following. Okay, well, you need to produce content, and you need to produce it daily, consistently.
Which is why I do the platforms that I do, the midweek chat, the Tuesday motivation and conversation. That's free. I ain't charging nobody to be on there. I'm not trying to, that's just me sharing knowledge. And I say this to clients all the time. Your well should be so deep that you can't see the bottom. You have to continue to put information. Whatever your lane is, you need to build yourself up in that lane. Read, go to conferences, be a part of round tables, be a part of conversations. learn as much as you can learn about the things you do and the things you don't do, because
Right.
that's the opportunity for people to get to know who you are as a service provider, whatever that is, and how it is you articulate what you do, how it is that you share what you do. All of that is important because at the end of the day, you are marketing yourself, you're building yourself up. See, we're getting into the stuff. Okay, so we're gonna say that. We're gonna say that. We're going
Yeah.
too deep. We're going too deep. But this has been amazing. This has been good just to just talk through how it all got started. So Tuesday motivation and conversation. Listen, guys, y'all don't want to miss Tuesday motivation and conversation next Tuesday. So that is the 24th, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be chatting with Miss Danni White again, and we're gonna be talking about these marketing myths. And so we already kind of gave y'all a little bit, teaser. We didn't mean to go into that. It just kind of happened. But we're gonna be talking about these marketing myths, and I'm telling you, it's some good stuff. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper on that. And then if you want all the goods, you want to make sure that you go to bridgettemoody.com/events and get registered right now. It's all over social media. It's on her page, on my page, it's on Kevin's page. He's gonna be with us, Kevin Williams, Annie Lane Ellison. So listen, y'all want to come. This is gonna be great information for business owners, aspiring business owners. If you are a business owner and your stuff is stagnant, this is where you need to be, because we're going to be sharing information that's going to help you to get out of those ruts and go to the next level. And number one, we're going to be showing you some mirrors, because sometimes it's all about just looking in the mirror and seeing yourself and determining the things that you need to do and the changes you need to make. But thank you, Danni, so much. I appreciate you being with me for Midweek Chat this week. And we'll see you for Tuesday Motivation and Conversation on next Tuesday night.
Yes,
We're going to be
thank
talking
you.
about marketing myths. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Bridgette.
Yes, ma'am.